it's Kales, and I'm here to do a review of Markus Zusak's Bridge of Clay. I was really lucky enough to get one of these arcs, and Markus Zusak is actually coming to Denver in October, and I'm really excited to meet him, and I'm really excited to share this book with you guys. Now, I need to preface this by saying I've never read The Book Thief. You all need to know this. I've never read The Book Thief. Okay? The only Markus Zusak book that I've read in its entirety is I Am the Messenger. And I'm obsessed with I Am the Messenger. It is one of my top 10 favorite books, probably of all time. And I love that book so much it hurts. But I've never read The Book Thief. So you need to know that I really didn't have this like same fierce need for Markus Zusak's like next book. Because I think it's been like 8 or 10 years since people were waiting for Bridge of Clay to come out. It kept getting pushed back and changed and all these types of things, and it was this really big mystery. So I think my expectations for it are probably not the same as some other people's. So I'm just giving it an honest review here from when I read it a little bit earlier in August. So this book, just so you're aware, is kind of a family drama. It's about a family that has 5 brothers in it, and it's a really fascinating story that centers around one character named Clay, and it's told from the perspective of his brother Matthew. I think that's his name. But it's told from the perspective of the oldest of the 5 brothers, and is about Clay, who is the 4th brother. He finds this mission in his life to help a gentleman build a bridge. It is a really interesting story. I gave it ultimately a 4 out of 5 stars, and one of the biggest things with this book that you need to know is that it is almost 600 pages long. And the thing about that is that you really need to have patience and dedication with this book. It is a book that jumps from timeline to timeline, and it really requires concentration as you get this story that unfolds so delicately. And Markus has this way of really subtly showing you this information and telling you this story in a very unconventional manner. So you just need to have some patience with this, because there are times when this book goes so slow and you're like, what the hell is going on? I don't even understand. And yet, I promise it's all worth it, because again, he is a masterful storyteller that just knows how to weave his way through this. But it takes some time to get there. It's seriously worth the journey, but he's gonna make you work for it. So this style is very reminiscent to me of I Am the Messenger, with these poetic word choices and the very like choppy single word paragraph style, and very like synchronistic dialogue. I don't know if that's actually a thing, but it just feels very it just flows, and yet at the same time it's so staccato, and yet each voice is very unique, and you can understand who is talking when. The biggest thing is who is talking when, not within the conversation itself, but during what time period, because a lot of this takes place over the course of many, many decades, and it's sometimes hard to figure out what decade am I in, because sections of his story will literally be maybe 5 sentences long. And the reason for that is because the book is told in a jumble of memories, and so some of the memories are really long in these lengthy descriptions, and then the other ones are these like staccato paragraphs that are really only told in blinks. And so, like I said, it's because I think he's trying to emulate this idea of memory, as the oldest brother is trying to recall the story and then recall the stories of others, like his mother and his father and the neighbor and all these origins of these other people. But he's the one telling the story, and it's definitely from his memory and has the flaws that comes with that. Seriously though, I'm gonna say this. Because of the effort in which it takes to read this book, it can get boring. There are especially sometimes, there's a whole section about horse racing that's like in the good, like 3/4 of the way through the book that I could have ripped right out of it. It was really boring. It was not something that I was entertained in, and I was like, why the hell is this happening? Eventually, again, he does tell you why it happens, and it makes a ton of sense, but when you're going through it, you're just like, oh my gosh, this is such a drag, and I have no interest in horse racing. Why is this happening right now? What's beautiful about it is that it really reminded me of like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, where in that movie you get like the puzzle pieces, just a little bit of a handful at a time, and Zusak does the same thing here. There's this whole complete story that you just have no idea what's going on, and yet at the same time you're just starting to piece it together, and he's really controlling the reader as he does that, and it's a really quite beautiful way that he's able to tell you this story and really manipulate the reader, which I think is just brilliant. You know, and then when I was thinking about it, I really thought it would make up a really pretty mini-series, and I was like, oh my god, what if J.J. Abrams like got a hold of this? Like in the Lost J.J. Abrams, not the whole new Star Wars Cloverfield J.J. Abrams. But that was just my thought. You know, and the other brilliant thing about the way that he unfolds the story is that you're so invested in Clay and his family that when these pieces start to fall into place, you just become all the more devastated for them or all the more elated for them, depending on what the situation calls for. And because he really takes the time to dig his way into the characters and really, like, make you fall in love with them or really make you hate them or think that they're just complete scum. And yet at the same time, you're not really able to have such polarizing beliefs on these characters because he really does make them well-rounded and human. One of the biggest problems I had with this story is I had no idea when it was taking place. Like, sometimes I felt like it was going to be like in the 1930s, but then they mentioned phones, and I was like, where am I located? It has to be somewhere in Australia, because that's where Markus Zusak is from, and that's where it seems like he's drawing from. But at the same time, I just was like, I have no idea when or where this story is taking place. And just as someone like me, I found that really frustrating. It might not bother other people. They might totally be okay with it, and that's fine. But for me, I was like, where am I? And that's okay. Some books are meant to take you into this timeless place, but the whole time I was just sitting there like, I can't picture what they're wearing, and that's really frustrating for me. But then they mentioned like World War II, and there was like issues with Russia in the book. I don't know. I got nothing in terms of time period. It was really frustrating for me at points. That might be too picky, but I don't care. When I finished this book, I actually held it very close to my chest and I breathed it in. It was something that I had to take in chunks and not swallow all at once. It was something meant to be digested and processed as you read it, and then processed even more after you finished it. I really felt like I couldn't give this book a 5-star because of the excruciating slow points. It just wasn't enough for me, and truthfully, again, I know a lot of people have such high expectations for Zusak, and I can only imagine what the pressure must be to try and crank out another book after the phenomenal success that Book Thief had. And while I don't think that this book is a Book Thief book, and I wouldn't really know because again I haven't read it, but I know of the phenomenon, I still think that people will be happy with this story and really glad that Markus Zusak is just writing again, because he really is a brilliant writer and a brilliant storyteller, and I just loved the fact that he was able to manipulate my emotions and really make me think and feel and fall in love with this rather ordinary story. I will also say that I think I totally missed out on some of the symbolism with the bridge. I might have to either reread it or have some discussion with you guys when it eventually comes out, but I know literally nothing about what the bridge was supposed to mean. I don't know. I felt like a really bad English student trying to figure it out. In conclusion, 4 out of 5 stars to Markus Zusak's Bridge of Clay. I really hope that you guys pre-ordered this book. Go to your local independent bookstore and pre-order it from them, or make sure you get it when it comes out in October. And make sure to check out Markus Zusak when he's coming on tour. So yeah, get your copy of Bridge of Clay. I know that I really liked it. If you have a chance to read this book, let me know down in the comments below, or if you're really excited about it, or you just think it's going to be a piece of trash. Whatever. I want to talk to you guys as per usual. Until next time, guys. Bye.